Well, everybody, we've got more vintage vinyl here and also a little bit of memorabilia from a great pop music group and also television show from the early 70s. Give you a little hint. Point me in the direction of Detroit. Point me in the direction of Detroit. Point me in the direction of New York. Point me in the direction of Albuquerque, maybe. You probably know by now, if you know them, that I'm talking about none other than the Partridge Family. You got some vintage Partridge Family vinyl that we'll look at. And also this Partridge Family lunchbox. Now, this Partridge Family lunchbox was kind of neat. And I'm thinking I don't see a lot of lunches today. And I wonder if kids even take lunches to school. But this was actually my sister's lunchbox. Oops, sorry. Somehow I ended up with it. I hope she doesn't want it back. But you would have had a little thermos in there. And you could have put some tomato soup or chicken noodle soup or something in there. And, of course, a sandwich, maybe something else, little cookies or something. And it's kind of nice. These lunch boxes, this one's all probably not in great shape, and it doesn't have the inner stuff, but some of them sell for $80 on the internet. There's Chris and Tracy in the back, but that's Lori Partridge, Shirley Partridge, Keith Partridge, and Danny Partridge. And that's, Susan Day, Shirley Jones, David Cassidy, and Danny Bonaducci, and they were all great actors, actually. Classic TV actors, a lot of wit, a lot of personality. There's Chris and Tracy. And they changed out Chris after the first season. Didn't think we'd notice, kind of like they did with the husband on Bewitched. We weren't supposed to notice. There's David and Danny. There's Shirley and Lori. Well, let's look at these albums. We got several albums here. Let me just let's look at them. Kind of nice. And the first thing, the Partridge Family is like a lot of bands that were kind of teeny bopper bands from that period. They actually were. It was actually often great music because the Partridge Family was basically a wrecking crew band. They had, we'll look at some of the credits on these albums. I mean, these were great songwriters, a great band. And then they got a bona fide great pop singer, David Cassidy, to be the star. And voila. Okay, we got starring Shirley Jones, but only featuring David Cassidy. Of course, Shirley Jones was a big star back then. Oklahoma, Carousel, The Music Man, and she also had won the Academy Awards for her role as a prostitute in Elmer Gantry with Burt Lancaster. Great movie. So she was a big star. Actually, if you think about it, after Julie Andrews, she might be one of the most important figures in the history of American musical theater. I would think. I mean, she's had some of the biggest roles. So you get this was kind of the teen beat type thing. Oh, David's favorite things. Oh, his favorite things. His color depends on his mood. Song, The Thrill Is Gone. Maybe that was kind of a snarky thing to say, The Thrill Is Gone. I know he didn't like being Keith Partridge at the time. He was always rebelling against it, threatening to quit at some points even. Now look at this. On this album, you had Hal Blaine, a great drummer. I looked up all the stuff he was on, and I knew who he was and everything, but it's just a ridiculous list. John Denver, The Carpenters, Simon and Garfunkel. I mean, just all kinds of great music. And that Louis Shelton was also a great guitar player, and he's on just a ton of stuff. So that's basically the Wrecking Crew. So, and then you had a bunch of great songwriters. Wes Farrell was a music producer. He wrote a lot of songs too, although I looked and it seemed like a lot of his songs were maybe kind of B-sides, but he was a big music producer. Echo Valley 26809, a phone number song, Rainmaker. I think this was a little later album. Summer Days, that's a great song. Tony Romeo, he's another good songwriter. I Woke Up in Love this morning. Of course, huge hit. You got recorded at Western Recorders Studio, Los Angeles. See, this this was serious music. I mean, it might not seem serious to you, but the people that put this together were top notch. Let's look at some other ones. Here's this. This is the one I remember seeing a lot. The kind of calendar covers all their birthdays. That's all teeny bopper types. Oh, David's birthday is April 12th. He'd probably get 50,000 birthday cards from 13-year-old girls on his birthday. There's Shirley Jones. Even the dog's got his. But they don't have Ruben on there. Now that's a raw deal. Ruben was great. Dave Madden. Let's see what's on this one. Again, you have all the Hal Blaine, all those Wrecking Crew players. I mean, that was a good band. And here's the Partridge Family fan club. So of course, they didn't have the internet back then, so you'd send them $2, and you'd probably have to wait back then, 6 weeks or something. But the happy day would come, and you'd go to the mail, and you'd get your little package from the Partridge Family fan club, and your little card and whatever they sent you. They'd always advertise some of their previous albums. That's their first album there. Look, on this one we've got I'll Meet You Halfway. That's Wes Farrell. And Jerry Coffin also was a great lyricist, and he was married to Carole King, and wrote a lot of the great early Carole King songs. Co-wrote them with Carole King. You Are Always on My Mind. That's that Tony Romeo again. I'm telling you, a lot of these songs were just great. And a lot of them, it was kind of the soft rock of the 70s. A lot of them could have been like Loggins and Messina, or, some of that kind of stuff. That'll Be the Day. Not to be confused, apparently, with the Buddy Holly one. Unless I'm missing something. Here's the Partridge Family Notebook. This is another album. Oh, look, it's like a school book, so everything's kind of pitched for, 7th graders. And that's a school back then. You'd have all the kids would write nice notes in their school book with nice handwriting. You got to pay $50,000 a year to go to a school like that today. All right. Which is sad, sad, sad. Here we got on this one, I don't know too many of these. Together We're Better. I remember that one. Through the Eyes of Love. Something's wrong. We got to get out of this place. Some of these are produced by Wes Farrell. Was this a little later? 72. Yeah, I think their initial first album or two, and when that show first came out, had a lot of their most famous hits. But they were around till 1974. Here's The World of the Partridge Family, starring Shirley Jones. Got David Cassidy with the puka shells there. Susan Day. Keith and Lori. That's almost right up there with Greg and Marcia, isn't it? And I even think they did have some intimate encounters there towards the end of the show, from what I've read. Not that it's any of my business. They're there. That's the second Chris. There's Tracy. There's Danny. He and Ruben used to always be up to something. It was kind of funny. 40-year-old man and 11-year-old kid running around town, getting into all kinds of trouble. It was pretty funny. I Think I Love You. Oh, what a great song. Point Me in the Direction of Albuquerque. It's just flat out a good song. Like I said, it could have been a Loggins and Messina song, or like a Bread song or something like that. Really nice. Doesn't Somebody Want to Be Wanted? That's a good one. Hello, Hello. I Can Feel Your Heartbeat. Echo Valley 26809, a phone number song. If you watch the show a lot, you'll probably recognize a lot of these songs, because they usually did at least one song per show. Right now, this is, I think, their first album. Shirley Jones and David Cassidy. Shirley Jones, David Cassidy. The family that reverbs together remains together. Look at this first album. Brand New Me, Point Me in the Direction of Albuquerque. See, they'd put some of their better known songs on several albums that would always kind of sell them. Then some new ones that kind of give you a reason to buy a new one. I Think I Love You. Yeah, look at that. And Tommy Tedesco was also, now he was he played on a lot of stuff, kind of like Louis Shelton did. And he played on the MASH theme song, and he used to also be the guitar player on The Gong Show. Shirley Jones stars as widow Shirley Partridge, the head of this upbeat brood of musical chickens. You know, it's kind of like the Brady Bunch. They didn't want to say she was divorced. Did their father, it seems like there was the slightest intimation that he'd been in Vietnam, but I don't know that. Some of you Partridge Family trivia people can remind me, but I don't think they alluded to the father much, ever. Now, this is their Christmas card album. I like that Christmas special they did with the guy from White Christmas. And Keith ran around, Merry Christmas. And Ruben said, that is really starting to bother me. Can I just be bad for 5 more seconds? Jingle Bells, White Christmas, Winter Wonderland, Frosty the Snowman, the Christmas song, Rocking Around the Christmas Tree, Blue Christmas. Yeah. You know what? And those are, again, you got that band. I mean, this was a great band. So if you ever think the Partridge Family was lame or something, no. I mean, these are like some of the best musicians in the country and songwriters, producing some of the best studios. And David Cassidy was legitimately a great pop singer. So it's not a bad band at all. They have some great songs. And let's kind of finish. Let's put some of the picture ones up there. There we go. Now, rumor has it that David Cassidy was cute, hot, handsome, whatever you want to call it. His father, of course, was Jack Cassidy. I've been watching Columbo. He's a great villain in some of those Columbos. But huge star back then. And like a lot of those guys, after the show was over, he never really found a place after Keith Partridge. I think he wanted to be like a regular rock star, like in a band like Humble Pie or Rye Heap or something. He ended up on the Partridge Family. Oh well, you never know what life's going to hand you. Maybe at the end of the day, he was glad for it, though. It's a pretty positive contribution to our world, actually. Great TV show and such great music. Thanks, everybody. God bless.